Google, Google, Google. All right, so they had their announcement today where they did the whole keynote talking about some new products, including the new Pixel 4. And while they did announce some cool stuff with some cool features, most of the presentation was an absolute snooze fest. And look, I was harsh on Apple from their presentation. I gotta be harsh on Google when it sucks. So let's just skip through most of the BS they talked about. We'll try to keep it just the interesting things, and let's get into it, I guess. One of the first things they mentioned was that Google Stadia is launching on November 15th. That's Google's streaming gaming platform. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I don't really see this panning out too well. I hope I'm wrong. I could totally see this flopping though. We'll have to wait and see. I think input latency is going to be a big issue. I just don't know if ISPs and the internet in general is ready for this yet. Then they talked about how the new versions of the Pixel Buds are going to be coming next year in spring of 2020. So they're announcing it really early. They talked about how it'll be 5 hours of battery life and then 24 hours if you include the charging case. And apparently it'll have really good range. So if you're outside, for example, the clear line of sight range is like a football field. So it'll be pretty good and hopefully be able to go clear across your house. Then Google quickly touched on some privacy settings with Google Assistant. So you'll be able to literally just ask it to clear your history, your activity history, that sort of thing, and it'll do it. Then Google did a whole thing about renewable energy. I mean, literally no one cares, Google. I'm just gonna say it. Just skip all that. It's fluff in the presentation, just bored everyone to death, and then they moved on. And then they talked about the Pixelbook Go, which was so unremarkable, I literally didn't even bother taking notes on it. Now, one significant update to one of their products is to the Google Home Mini, which they are now calling the Nest Mini. It seems to be the exact same design, except now maybe with a little bit better speaker. But on top of that, the big change is gonna have a machine learning chip built right into it, so it will be like a hybrid model where you'll basically have some of the core functions it can do right on the Google Home without having to send it to the cloud, which will increase the speed of things very quickly. And then if there's something that it can't do on there, then it will send that to the cloud and be able to do everything else. So that could speed things up a lot. We'll have to see how that works. They also announced some new pricing plans upcoming for the Google Nest Cam Nest Aware plan, where instead of having to pay for each camera and paying like $10 a month each, they'll now have a whole home plan. That'll be coming next year, and I think that makes a lot more sense than having to pay for each individual camera. And then the final product before we get to the Pixel 4 phones is the new Nest Wi-Fi, which is gonna replace the Google Wi-Fi. So like before, you'll have the router unit and then extension Wi-Fi units that are just access points. It'll be a mesh network, and they claim this will be able to do up to 2 times the speed with 25% more coverage with the same units. And also interestingly, it looks like the Nest Wi-Fi units will also have speakers enabled, so they'll basically kind of act like Google Homes, so you can do like the Google Assistant stuff with it. So that's interesting there. And now let's talk about the main event, which are the new Pixel 4 phones. So there's 2 of them again. There's the Pixel 4 and the Pixel 4 XL, the regular one being 5.7 inch and the XL being 6.3 inch. Now, when it comes to these phones, I'm not really sure what Google is going for. I mean, there's some really cool new features. There's also some stuff that I just think is stupid and I think is a bad move. We'll get into this. One of the biggest new features they were touting is the radar sensor. So this was called Project Soli, I believe, and now it's just called Motion Sense. Basically, on the front of the phone, there will be a radar sensor, which can sense gestures and stuff. But the way they kind of present these gestures is like really rudimentary stuff. Like, it's basically just examples of them waving the hand across the phone, and that's like it, to move songs. Like, nothing complicated or anything like that. Like, it would be really awesome if you could somehow in the future, like, create your own custom gestures. Like, oh, hold up 2 fingers and then, I don't know, whatever, and then it does some other random, arbitrary feature that you want to activate. But it doesn't seem to be like that. It's like, oh, skip stuff and that's about it. Another big change is they removed the fingerprint sensor on the back and it moved exclusively to face unlock. Google. What are you doing, Google? What is this garbage? Now, I may be in the minority here, but oh God, I hate Face ID compared to the fingerprint sensor on the iPhone. Now, if it had both, that would be awesome, but there are situations where Face ID, and I assume Face Unlock, is simply not gonna work. Like you're wearing certain sunglasses, or you're not holding the phone up, it's on a table, something like that, or you're taking it out of your pocket, it's gonna be slower. Now, Google did claim in the presentation this is gonna be the fastest Face Unlock on the market, Not gonna take their word for it. I mean, that's big, bold claims there. And they did mention that they're gonna somehow use the radar to sense like when your head is moving up to the thing. So that will be used like if your phone is sitting on a table, instead of using the always on display all the time, the radar will detect when your head moves close to it, and then it'll just have it on. I don't know how that's going to work. I don't know if that's going to be any more battery efficient if the radar thing has to be on. I don't know. But in any case, I'm giving a big freaking thumbs down on that face unlock crap. Now, moving on though, one big change apparently is that Google Assistant is going to be much more integrated into the system, even more so, I guess. It was already pretty integrated, where you'll be able to control a lot more stuff even within apps, for example. So I don't know how that's going to play out. It's already pretty good. So Google Assistant is one of the better features of any Android phone when compared to iPhone. I mean, Siri's just trash, so it's always better. And kind of like with the Nest Mini, they're saying that they're going to have a hybrid model where there's going to be a lot of machine learning stuff just done on the phone as opposed to having to send everything to the cloud, so it should be a lot faster. And I believe they mentioned that includes having the entire English language model on the phone so it can do things like live transcribe, which is a new feature. I believe they talked about it at Google I/O at some point, but basically you'll be able to have the phone now, you'll be able to sit it down at a meeting, and it will very accurately be able to transcribe everything that's going on around it, and then you can search through it, save the file, whatever. That seems pretty cool. As for the screen, they are both OLED, and one big feature is it is a 90 hertz refresh rate. I think that's awesome. I was really surprised when Apple did not add 90 hertz to their phones, even though they're calling it Pro. So I like that Google is actually stepping that up. 90 hertz is of course going to be a lot smoother. And it does use adaptive refresh rate, so it's not going to be 90 hertz all the time. Probably only going to be 90 hertz like when you're swiping and stuff like that. But anyway, now onto the cameras, which are usually the biggest features of the Pixel phones. Not really a big change here. So one noticeable thing is there are 2 cameras on the back, not 3, despite having that square-shaped camera module that really looks suspiciously like a lot of other smartphones, including the iPhone, which have 3 distinctly. They put the bigger giant camera module and only have the regular camera and the telephoto, no ultra-wide. Now, one thing they pointed out is that the telephoto lens, it's a 2x telephoto, and it'll not only be able to do the 2x optical zoom, but it'll also be able to do that super res zoom. Now, this is supposedly so you can zoom in and it does some computations to get a sharper image. It's not like a digital zoom where it just crops in. And they did specifically say that you're going to get a better shot if you do the pinch to zoom rather than cropping it afterwards. So I'll take their word for it. When I did do a test with the Pixel 3a with the super res zoom, I didn't really notice any difference. But maybe if it is using a telephoto, it'll be different with the new technology in this one. Another big feature has to do with HDR+. So as you know, usually what would happen with Pixel phones, you'd take the picture, then it would do some processing, and then you'd see the final result. Now, Google made it so you'll actually have live HDR. You'll be able to see mostly what the final product of the image is going to look like before you actually even take the picture, which is awesome. And they actually added some live sliders that you can adjust before the fact. So the overall exposure slider and then actually the shadows, which I think is really cool. So you can actually get some of those advanced settings before you even take the shot and get to look exactly how you want. And I really like how it's not just exposure, it is that shadow adjustment, so it's really cool. They also talked about how they'll be using machine learning to get better white balance in photos, which is always good. And they also improved portrait mode in general. So now with the 2 telephoto and regular lens, they'll be able to take portrait mode of things that are further away, maybe not so up in front with the camera. They'll be able to use like the stereoscopic vision of the cameras, whatever. And apparently they improved what like animal fur will look like with portrait mode. Apparently it was having trouble with that before. And finally, they improved night sight, so you'll now even be able to do things like astrophotography. So instead of taking like one massive long exposure like you might with a regular camera, it'll use the night sight to take like 15 separate exposures that are like, I don't know, 20 seconds each or something like that. And then it'll be able to use computational photography to put it all together. And the examples they gave were pretty awesome when taking pictures of space. Now, you might be wondering, what are my thoughts overall on the Pixel 4? And I'm going to be honest, I'm kind of skeptical. There are some questionable moves they made with this one. So first of all, no ultra wide camera. Now, I do agree that I would think if you had to choose one or the other, I would probably go with the telephoto, because it is useful, I think, more so to take pictures of things that are far away than closer. But I also have to say that, you know, I did not think I would need the ultra wide photo at all when I got the new iPhone 11 Pro to review. But after I had it, it did come in handy more than I thought. I've used it several times. So I'm really questioning why they did not add that when they totally could have, especially at that price point. It's like you're gonna charge $800 flagship price for a phone, and then you're not gonna even add some of the basic features that most flagships have these days. What are you thinking, Google? Also, the choice to move from fingerprint sensor to face unlock exclusively. Oh my God, how many times do I have to say this? I hate it so much. Now, another thing that I am kind of questioning is battery life. They did not mention battery life at all the entire presentation, which makes me think it's probably not even gonna be as good as the Pixel 3, otherwise they would have mentioned it. The battery size on these phones are mostly a joke. So the Pixel 4 has a 2800 milliamp hour battery. That's even smaller in this year's iPhone 11 Pro, and Apple is usually the ones that put in tiny jokes of a battery, and this is even worse than that. You gotta be kidding me. 90 hertz display, a Snapdragon 855, these are like power hogging CPUs and features, and they're putting in tiny batteries. Google, what are you thinking here? Now the XL does have a 3700 milliamp hour battery. That's more acceptable, but seriously, the smaller one, 2800, come on. Now, one more feature removal, which a lot of people are calling a deal breaker on Reddit that I was seeing, there like a lot of people are mad about this, is you no longer get unlimited original quality backup uploads to Google Photos. So considering that it's a 64 gigabyte base model with only 128 gigabytes as the upper end one, this is very questionable because previously, always Pixel phones, that was like one of the features. You got unlimited original quality backups. Now it's just high quality unlimited backups, which you get with like literally any phone. So look, I don't know who's in charge of the Google Pixel project. I think there was a step forward with the camera. I think there's multiple steps back in terms of features. Gonna be honest, I'm telling you right now, I would definitely wait for reviews before buying this phone. You might want to wait for like Black Friday. Apparently they usually have a pretty big discount for Black Friday. Yeah, don't buy this phone yet. Definitely wait for reviews. That's my opinion. Now, apparently Google might be sending me a Pixel 4 to review. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I hope they send it out before they see this video. But if I do get my hands on one, I'll certainly review it. I'll certainly do my typical review where, you know what, if there's something that's awesome about it, I'll say that. If there's something that sucks about it, you know I'm going to say that too. So be sure to subscribe for that. So let me know what you guys think about the Pixel 4 in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you guys' thoughts are. And if you are interested in watching my full iPhone 11 Pro review, I'll have that pop out right here. I spent a lot of time on it. It's a really thorough review, so you can definitely watch that. So thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.